Hey, this is Felix.
Hey, this is Alfred.
Welcome to 4 Decades Apart.
Felix, if I mention about ice fields in the world, large piece of ice field, what will you think?
Last piece of ice fields. I mean, the obvious answers would be North Pole and South Pole.
In fact, in addition to these two poles, there is a third pole. Today, we are trying to tell people about this.
So, third pole is at the Asia region. So, in compared to North Pole and South Pole is a roughly 5.5 million square miles large. In compared to the third pole that we're talking about here, the Hindu Kush Himalayan region spans about 1.63 million square miles. It's about 1/4 in size of the area of the South Pole and North Pole, and it's the third largest area of frozen water on the planet. So it's often referred as the third pole.
I see. Okay.
Third pole right now is very important to a lot of areas. This region encompasses the Himalayan Hindu Kush mountain ranges and the Tibetan Plateau, which we have 10 of the Asia's largest river begins here at this point. For example, we have Mekong River and Yangtze River, which are really big rivers that a lot of countries' water supply coming out from these rivers.
Okay.
It is also estimated the water that flows from the third pole supports 120 million people directly and a total of 1.3 billion people indirectly affected by this.
Wow.
So that's roughly one-fifth of the world population that is relying on the water supply coming out from this glacier.
Really? Oh.
Why we bring up the topic of the third pole here, and the reason we brought that up is because the trend that we're seeing here is that the glaciers are shrinking faster than they are rebuilding.
Okay.
So we're losing ice over time and over time and over time. That is what's happening. And by the end of this century, it could lose more than a third of the glacier.
By God.
1/3.
So maybe another 100 years it disappear.
Very possibly.
Oh my God.
Very possibly. You know, a lot of us talk about ice melting and oh my God, you know, sea level rising and stuff like that. What are some big consequences of
Well, I think is one fatal consequences is the shortage of water supply, fresh water supply in the region.
why ice melting will contribute to this problem?
Okay, just imagine if you have sufficient ice which store the water. You know, instead of liquid form, it's in the solid form, so it stay there when you don't use it.
Yeah.
Okay, when you want to use it, it melts and become liquid water. So it's some kind of buffer in the region.
Gotcha.
But once it melts so quickly, there's no more buffer there. You know, someday the water melts so fast that they just flow to the sea instead of staying in the mountain.
Right.
Okay, so at that time, when it's all gone in the dry season, no more water from the mountains. So it caused a big consequence of water shortage.
And also on top of the fresh water supply, which is a big problem, another obvious problem that coming out from that is also the glacier lakes, right? Those lakes that we talk about might sometimes burst or overflow if the speed of the ice melting becomes faster and faster, which include the risk of flooding.
Yeah. A lot of flooding, mudslide, landslide, all these things will occur frequently.
Yes. And talk about the water walls. What is that?
Oh, yeah. It is obvious that when the area depends only on this water source, so once the glacier melts down and people just fight for water in the region, so one obvious conflict will be between China and India because they are fighting for the same source of water.
Right.
So people are worrying that someday war will break out because of the fight for water. So we have to watch out, we don't want to see those things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, for the next generation.
And on a macro way of looking at ice melting, we found out that by the end of this century, our overall sea level, are predicted to be 1 meter, one meter higher. So a lot of coastal countries might disappear by certain years because of the sea level keep coming up.
I see.
So Maldives, countries, maybe some Philippine islands.
Yeah, those with a lot of islands, those countries with a lot of islands may
be gone.
Yeah. So I remember that the Maldives officials have held some kind of underwater conference to address the issue. You
Oh,
heard of
really?
that? Yeah, they try to warn the world that if they don't stop global warming, their country will be underwater.
That's very cool, actually.
Yeah,
We should definitely check that out one time. So, what are some big reasons that contribute to
pollution
this?
is also a big problem. Okay, in that area, still a lot of people are using fossil fuels like coal. When you burn coal, it creates soot,
Right.
and then small particles will float in the air and eventually deposit in the glaciers. And this makes the glacier look darker. And you understand when it's darker color, they absorb heat easily. And that again accelerate the melting speed.
Right.
So that's another issue we have to look after.
On top of that, right, global warming has been a big topic that contributes to this. And every 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in global warming, it actually contributes to more on the higher elevation. This equals to about 1.8 degrees Celsius of warming across the Hindu Kush Himalaya area. And for even higher elevations, it's go up to 2 degrees Celsius. So it's faster, it's warmer, more quickly than how we feel right now in the general area.
Any things to help relieve the problem?
We can't really stop it from melting, but there's certainly things that we could do about it and how we could really look at this problem proactively and potentially anticipate this problem coming in and make the issues less severe when it really becomes a bigger problem. So, for example, we can improve the flood forecasts, get some early warning systems for extreme weather events, reduce local air pollutions, things like that. These are really reliant on economic. Needs a lot of money, needs a lot of people coming in, and I think we really should have look at this more proactively as early as possible. And to raise awareness is a big thing, right?
That's why we have this program.
that's why we have this YouTube channel to really raise awareness of this, and to really get you to understand these kind of problems, how big of a problem this is, and how we can actually contribute to this. We see that community is so much powerful than individual.
Of course, I mean, if everybody do just a bit of his own, and it would create a lot of impact, and maybe we can stop the global warming to less degree. Instead of 1.5, we may stop it to 1 degree or even less. I mean, that would help.
Yeah.
Well, before the end of the talk, I would like to emphasize again why we concern so much on the third pole. Because in North Pole and South Pole, when the glacier melts, you don't have the immediate threat to people's lives around the area because there's not many people living around. But in the third pole, it's very different. We have a lot of countries, say in Bhutan, Nepal, China, India, Pakistan. They are all countries that depends on this glacier. If it floods, it would create disaster. If there's no water from this source, they would have war.
Yeah.
So the consequence and the impact is so great that we want to emphasize people should concern about this third pole.
I'm sure everybody know about, how to reduce carbon footprint. This has been a big social education that we have since we were born. And always think about, saving energy. Don't waste energy that you don't need to use, and make sure all the water taps are turned off when you don't need it, right? No water leakage and things like that. And
Protection of the forest is also a great impact,
yeah,
So don't try to start a fire near the forest.
yeah, protection of the forest. If you haven't checked out our last video talking about wildfire, that's also a thing that contribute to global warming as well. If you guys love what we do and love these videos, make sure you guys share it with your friends and families to, spread the words. Make them feel like, they have a responsibility towards these social issues as well as environmental issues. If you like our channel, make sure you subscribe to our channel for our upcoming videos. We're posting every week now on the same time, same day. Hit the bell button to get notifications from that as well. So that's it.
That's it.
See you.
See you.